What if the human brain evolved to double its size? At first, this sounds like a superhero upgrade. Bigger brain, bigger thoughts. Maybe everyone becomes a genius, chess grandmaster, rocket scientist, and person who actually remembers where they put their keys. But biology is not a video game upgrade menu. You cannot just drag the brain size slider to 200% and click save. A bigger brain is not free. It is expensive, hungry, hot, heavy, and extremely awkward to deliver as a baby. So let us imagine it carefully. Not one person suddenly waking up with a giant head. That would be a medical emergency and a very confusing morning. Instead, imagine humans slowly evolve over many thousands of generations until the average adult brain is about twice as large as it is today. The first problem is food. Your brain is already a tiny energy monster. It is only about 2% of your body weight, but it uses around 20% of your resting energy. That is like having a small, wrinkly office worker in your skull who never clocks out and keeps ordering snacks. Double the brain and the energy bill probably goes way up. Not exactly double because evolution can make things more efficient, but still, this would be expensive tissue. Humans might need more calories, better diets, longer childhood feeding, and maybe a body that is better at moving energy to the brain. Breakfast would become less optional. Skipping lunch might not make you mysterious and focused. It might make your giant thinking engine start waving a tiny white flag. The second problem is heat. Brains do not just use energy, they release heat. Your skull is not a laptop with a fan. If the brain became much larger and more active, the body would need better cooling, maybe more blood flow around the head, maybe larger sinuses, maybe a scalp that is very good at losing heat. Maybe humans would become the only species that can get a headache from thinking too enthusiastically about soup. The third problem is birth. This is the big one. Human babies are already born helpless, partly because our brains are large and our pelvis has limits. If adult brains doubled in size, babies could not simply arrive with fully doubled heads. That would be bad engineering and also a terrible day for everyone involved. So evolution would probably choose a workaround. Babies might be born even earlier in development, with smaller, softer skulls and brains that grow for a very long time after birth. Childhood might become much longer. Parents might spend more years feeding, teaching, protecting, and answering questions like, why is the moon following the car? Except now the child may ask a follow-up about orbital mechanics, and then another follow-up about whether the car is emotionally prepared for this relationship. Longer childhood could be exhausting, but it might also be powerful. More time growing means more time learning. Human culture already depends on children absorbing language, tools, rules, stories, jokes, warnings, and how not to put random things in electrical sockets. A double-sized brain might turn childhood into an even bigger training period. Schools might start earlier, last longer, and include subjects like emotional regulation, advanced cooperation, and how to politely disagree with someone who has memorized every mushroom. But here's the important twist. Bigger brain does not automatically mean smarter in every way. Brain size matters, but wiring matters too. A bigger city is not automatically better if the roads are confusing. A huge brain with messy connections could be slower, noisier, or harder to coordinate. The real upgrade would not just be more brain, it would be better organization, more useful connections, better memory systems, better attention, better ability to imagine consequences before doing something extremely silly with a shopping cart. So what might these future humans actually be like? They might have huge heads, stronger necks, and wider shoulders to balance the weight. They might need more sleep, because sleep helps the brain clean up, repair, and organize memories. Dreams could become longer, stranger, and maybe weirdly productive. Someone might wake up and say, I solved the bridge design. Then someone else says, great, I dreamed I was a pancake with taxes. Both are valid brain activity. Their societies might change too. If learning takes longer, adulthood might start later. Jobs might require more training. Science, art, music, engineering, medicine, and storytelling could become incredibly advanced. People might hold more ideas in mind at once. They might simulate complicated futures better. They might be better at noticing patterns, planning cities, inventing tools, and understanding other people's feelings. Or at least they might invent new ways to overthink a text message. But bigger brains could also bring new problems. More memory might mean more ways to worry. More imagination might mean more ways to scare yourself. More planning might mean meetings that last 3 days because everyone can see 47 possible outcomes. Intelligence is useful, but a brain also has to stay calm, social, motivated, and happy enough to use it well. A superbrain that panics constantly is not a superpower. It is a very fancy alarm system. There is also the body trade-off. Evolution has a budget. If more energy goes to the brain, less may be available for muscles, digestion, reproduction, or immune defense unless food and metabolism improve. These humans might not be stronger. They might be physically more delicate. Maybe they build amazing machines because carrying groceries feels like a personal attack. In the long run, a double-sized brain species could become brilliant, slow-growing, calorie-hungry, highly social, and deeply dependent on culture. They might not look like giant-headed aliens immediately, but they would probably have rounder skulls, stronger necks, longer childhoods, more careful births, more sleep, and a civilization built around teaching. So would doubling the brain make us twice as smart? Probably not. Brains are not balloons of intelligence. They are living networks. Make the network bigger without solving energy, cooling, birth, wiring, childhood, and emotion, and you do not get instant genius. You get a lot of biological paperwork, but if evolution solved those problems, the result could be amazing. Humans might become better thinkers, better planners, better artists, and maybe better at understanding one another. The funniest part is that the biggest change might not be giant inventions. It might be giant patience, because a bigger brain would need a bigger childhood, and a bigger childhood would need a bigger community. In the end, the future superbrain would not belong to one lonely genius. It would belong to a species that learned how to raise, teach, feed, cool, and care for very expensive heads. The brain might double, but the teamwork would have to grow too.